If you want to diversify your reading, then you're in the right spot. February is Black History Month, and it is an excellent reminder that we could all do, me included, with a more diverse selection of authors. That's why I handpicked a selection of 8 books, from classics all the way up to the newest releases, to inspire you and help you support Black History Month. So let's have a browse, and if you want to know more about these books, check out the description down below. Let's kick off with a classic and let's talk James Baldwin. Now, James Baldwin is one of my all-time favorite modern classic authors, and Giovanni's Room is possibly one of my most favorite books. But for Black History Month, I'm going with something else. If Beale Street Could Talk is a book about love and injustice. And boy, this book is fierce. This book is angry. This is the story of Tish and Fonny. Tish is a young girl who falls in love with Fonny. Their love is sweet and pure and they pledge to get married. She's pregnant of his baby and then Fonny gets accused wrongly from a hideous crime. Their future together is shattered and the family sets out to clear Fonny's name, to find whoever did it, but they keep on hitting against the wall. A wall of racial segregation, of racism, of the America back then and the America today. It is a love story that's also a tragedy. It is hope and despair. It is passion and the blues. On the one side, Baldwin creates these characters that you will absolutely come to love. They are so sweet, they are so pure, their love is something that you rarely see. But on the other hand, Baldwin makes a fist with this book and becomes the voice of the civil rights movement. It is angry, but never loud. It is fierce, but also very sweet. If Beale Street could talk, then it would speak with the voice of James Baldwin. Next one up is a very short book that will absolutely destroy you. It is part fantasy, part alternate history, part sociological study. In the Deep by River Solomon, the author takes us to an underwater world. These water folk are the descendants of pregnant black slave women who were thrown overboard by their owners. And since their past is too traumatic and too sad to remember, they all pour their memories, their history onto one person. The historian. The new historian is a young woman called Jaye, and she has to remember for everyone. The painful, the traumatic, the sad, but also the beautiful and the wondrous. She carries the historical load for her people and it is destroying her. And this leaves her with an impossible choice. Does she abandon the memories of her people and by doing so condemn their culture? Or does she cling on to the role that was given her but possibly destroy herself in the process? It is a gripping novella about memories, about culture, about past, but also about identity. It is inspired by the song We Are in the Future by the rap group Clipping, and it is an ever so moving and gripping little novella. The Deep by River Solomon is original, unique, and it will tear you apart. Well, do you actually know why February is Black History Month? Well, keep that thought and I'll reveal the answer later on in this video. Third one up is another classic and it is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. If you are already devastated by the deep, then why not even make it worse? The Bluest Eye is the story of a young black girl, about 11 years old, who sees all around her that she is not the beauty standard. And she prays every single night again that her eyes would turn blue so she could be considered beautiful. She too wants to be the blue-eyed, blonde-haired, ideal little girl in America. And then one autumn her life changes in a very devastating, painful way. Toni Morrison is one of those authors I absolutely love to read, but hate as well. Because her books are equal parts beautiful and painful. The way she describes the life of this 11-year-old girl with all of her fears and anxieties, her isolation, her loneliness, and the terrible thoughts and ideas it inspires in a child's mind is heartbreaking. This book is enormously powerful, but do check your trigger warnings, because it can pack a punch. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, an unforgettable, powerful and absolute classic. Then let's go the historical fiction route with The Attic Child by Lola Jaye. The Attic Child is basically 2 stories in one place. The first story is set in the early 1900s and it is the story of a young boy who was taken from his homeland and is now locked up in the attic and only let out to be an unpaid servant, which is still just another word for slave. The second story brings us all the way up to the 1970s and it tells us the story of a young orphan girl who was originally born into wealth and entitlement, but things have changed. She too is locked away in the same attic as in the first story and she finds little remnants, little keepsakes that will inform her of the earlier story. Now these little trinkets comfort her throughout her ordeal and as she starts to uncover more of them, she uncovers more clues about the whole secrets of the house, the attic and her family. It is a book about family, about belonging, but also about the past, family secrets and again in the end about identity. Are you defined by your past, influenced by the present, or is there a future that you can decide? I read it in Dutch and it is an absolutely beautifully written book. It is an insightful read that really drags you into the story and you want to uncover more and more of these clues. So in the end you'll rip through this book in no time. Much love for The Attic Child by Lola Jaye. And then let's keep it contemporary and talk about Colson Whitehead. Now Colson Whitehead has been all over the award scene in the last few years. Had 2 Pulitzers and many other awards for his books. And yes, I could easily have gone with the Underground Railroad for Black History Month, but I thought we had enough sad and serious books already, so let's mix it up and go for the Harlem Shuffle instead. The year is 1960, the place is Harlem, and this is the time and place for heists, rip-off, conmen, and criminals. At his core, Ray Carney is a normal man. He runs a furniture store, he's married, they're expecting their second baby. There's nothing really out of the ordinary about him. But yeah, finances are very tight and ever so difficult to balance, especially with a second baby coming. So there is always his little cousin, Freddie, who slips him a package to hold or a ring to sell, and you know, is it crime, is it not? It just starts small. And this continues up to the point that Ray gets in with a gang who plans a heist. And the heist doesn't go so well. And all of a sudden, the people that come to the store are a very different sort of people. There's shady cops, there's criminals, pornographers, there's a lot. And this is the beginning of some sort of double life. On the one hand, you have Ray, who is like the perfect father and husband and upstanding citizen. And on the other hand of the spectrum, you have Ray the criminal. And the story is ingenious. It is a crime novel, it is a comedy, it is a love letter to Harlem, it is a critique of society, it is all of those things. But most of all, it is a joy to read. This is literary fiction at its best and I highly recommend it. The Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. So why is February Black History Month? Well, originally it was just a week. Specifically the second week of February, because this week holds 2 important birthdays. Abraham Lincoln on the 12th and Frederick Douglass on the 14th. From the Emancipation Proclamation all the way up to one of the most memorable public speakers and abolitionists during and after the Civil War. Did you get it right? Let me know down below in the comments. And now for some more book recommendations. Let's continue with another classic, and I simply could not leave this one out or my comments would have been filled with complaints. Yes, I'm including I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is a debut memoir about the childhood of the author herself. When Maya and her brother Beale are sent to live with grandparents in a little rural town down south, a whole new world opens for them. It is a world of prejudice, a world of bigotry, and it makes for a harsh childhood. At age 8, when she is attacked by a man that is many times her age, all seems lost. Her childhood and her life, in fact, seems to be destroyed. It is many years later, when she's living in San Francisco, that she learns about love again. A love for books, a love for writing, for friends, for others, but most importantly, a love for herself. While it has not always aged ever so well into these modern times, it is still a powerful and poetic book. One of Obama's favorites, one of Oprah's favorites, and an absolute classic in the genre. Do check your trigger warnings, but absolutely do pick up a copy of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Then let's do a book that had me absolutely intrigued all throughout the story, and it is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. It is somewhere in the 70s in Pennsylvania, and they are digging to build foundations for a new building project, when all of a sudden the builders stumble upon a skeleton. Now this of course raises questions. Who was this skeleton? How did it get there so deep? Now of course investigations start, and they start to unravel the history of the neighborhood. Chicken Hill, where African Americans and immigrant Jews lived side by side together. Now you get the stories of many different characters, and as the book progresses, all of these stories start to connect, overlap, and they start to paint this picture about how harsh it must have been to live in such a neighborhood. Now the more questions that are asked, the more answers that are found, and slowly the story unravels and the truth is unearthed, and well, it's not nice. Yes, the book is dark and harsh at times, but it also shows that heaven and earth, love and community can carry groups of people through dark and harsh times. Yes, there is quite a cast of characters, and it is sometimes a bit difficult to keep track of them all and what their relationships are, but don't let that intimidate you. You should read this book for the epilogue alone, because the epilogue is chef's kiss, one of the best literary endings of a book that I've seen in a long time. The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. And let's end, why not, with some dark, dystopian, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic fiction. It is Octavia E. Butler with the first installment of the Earthseed series, The Parable of the Sower. Global climate change has brought destruction, water is now a scarce good that you have to pay for, and it is Mad Max madness out there. We meet a young girl, Lauren, who lives in a gated community, together with her father, who is the preacher there. Now this community is a bit of an oasis in all of the madness and chaos, but it is a very delicate balance. To make things worse, Lauren is suffering from something that she calls hyper-empathy, which makes her feel the pain of the people around her ever so much, and it absolutely maddens her. And since this community is ever so fragile, she has to speak up because things are going very wrong. But what starts as simply making your voice heard develops into something else, a new idea for humanity, for society, and in the end even a new religion with Lauren as its messiah. And the scary thing is, The Parable of the Sower is one of those dystopian books, and it was written somewhere in the 90s. And the more that I read it, the more it starts to look like what we have today. And if Octavia E. Butler was able to predict the future, then it's not looking great. This is a book for people who love The Handmaid's Tale. This is a book for people who are still in love with 1984. It was my first Octavia E. Butler book, and it has left me hungering for more. The Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. I hope I've at least inspired you to pick up some books by a more diverse selection of authors. Black History Month is of course an ideal moment to discover new authors. But let me be clear, you can read a more diverse selection of authors throughout all of the months. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you want to do some more rebellious reading, then by all means, check this video.